Before the we have to start off with we're gonna look ahead to the Champions League final this summer, um, or this weekend. I'm saying this summer, this weekend. Big game coming up between Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund, legacy-defining game. Now, how can Borussia Dortmund pull off the upset? Well, when we discuss that, I first want to look at the context of how they reached here. They've had a very up and down season when it comes to their form in the Bundesliga. It has not been good enough. Last year they went to the Champions League. Last year they went to the Champions League final. Last time they reached the Champions League final has been a very, very long time. It was 2012, and they've won one in their history, and they would like to, double that outcome. But when you look at this season, it's been very, very up and down season. In league form, it's just not been good enough. They finished 5th place. They're only qualifying for next year's Champions League on the new basis of the 5th place team getting in through the European performance slot. Yes, their success in the Champions League is one of the main reasons why. But again, 5th place is just not good enough for Borussia Dortmund standards. A huge drop off from last season, where they almost won the Bundesliga, where they took it all the way to the final day, and they sold it in the last game of the season, last couple of games in the season actually, but they had every opportunity to win that Bundesliga, and it went down to the wire. This one, it was they were gone very, very quickly from those chances, and they were just up a very inconsistent season. They had some good performances, especially when you look at the Champions League, but then they followed by bad losses to teams that were in the bottom half of the Bundesliga. Just bad performances throughout the season, and it's been very, very shaky for them. They did a great job in the summer bringing in players on loan from other clubs that weren't playing as much, that come in and make an immediate impact as starters. When you look at the likes of Jadon Sancho and Ian Maatsen, who's both been, very important in their roles in the second half of the season, since they have came in at that left back and right wing position. And they had very, very good semifinals against PSG that helped, Dortmund reach where they are today. And I definitely think they're going to make some sort of effort to keep them. But despite their league form, this season in the Champions League, they've been, we have to say, they have been absolutely brilliant in the Champions League this season. They were in the group of death. They got drawn in the group of death, going up against the likes of AC Milan, Newcastle, and PSG. That is the toughest group, and they ended up winning that group actually, only losing one game in the process, winning 3 games, drawing 2, and only losing 1 game, finishing with 11 points. They actually won that group, and that helped them get easier positioning in the knockout stages, to allow them to make this run that they were able to make. They started off against PSV. They took care of PSV when the return leg came back to Dortmund, getting a crucial 2-0 win. Then they took on an Atletico Madrid, who I thought would have, would take advantage, would get the better of this Dortmund team whenever the quarterfinal draws came out, and we got to see the rest of the tournament, the shape of the tournament. I thought Atletico Madrid was the team in that side of the bracket that was going to get to the final, which, wow, that would have made a very interesting final. In my opinion, it would have made a very interesting final, but it ended up being at Dortmund, who Atletico Madrid, they had their chance in that first half, the first leg, to put the game away, but Borussia Dortmund, they stayed in it, they stayed resilient. They ended up getting that goal in the second half by, I believe it was Sebastian Aller, to half the deficit, and it became a massive, massive goal. And then they came into the return leg at home, and it was a very interesting game. It was a game of runs, essentially. They went on, they were the protagonists in the first half. Then they get 2 crucial goals to make it to get them the lead within 5 minutes apart from each other. Then to start off the second half, Atletico Madrid, they get back into the game through an own goal by Hummels, and then Correa scores on transition, and it seems like, oh boy, Borussia Dortmund, now they're down 1. Atletico Madrid, this is the perfect position they want to be in. But then Borussia Dortmund went on another run to save themselves. And there's 2 goals in the span of 3 minutes from Füllkrug and Sabitzer. And it was very, very impressive to beat the way that they were able to be clinical in the short amount of times in that second leg against the Atletico Madrid team that's known for their very solid defending and not giving up much space. And they move on from that, and then they take on a PSG team, which, really comes down to them just being more clinical than PSG, taking advantage of their opportunities, with Füllkrug taking advantage in the first leg. It was a game of a lot of missed opportunities, but Borussia Dortmund were just more clinical than them, and Borussia Dortmund defended for their lives. They were under pressure. They were under heavy pressure. Matt Hummels, Schlotterbeck, Sule even coming on late. They defended for their lives and defended like their lives was on it. And obviously you have to get lucky in those situations. Do PSG, they didn't come with their finishing boots. They hit the post many times throughout the 2 legs. They were inches away many times, and it was just like, it just seemed like it was not PSG's day, and that's kind of been the story of PSG in the Champions League. So they were able, whenever you're making these runs, especially as an underdog team, yes, your skill and all that is very important, but also you need to get lucky. And they got lucky to get here too. Luck was a part of it, but they made their own luck too with their ability to defend. Their ability to defend has, been able to make their own luck, and that's why they're here. And now we go to the final. For Borussia Dortmund to win the final, that defense, that level of desperation that they had against against PSG, they need to defend with that sort of desperation, putting their last man in. And look, this is a Champions League final, and they're gonna die on that pitch for the badge. But they're gonna have to do more. They're going to literally have to get near that mark if they want to get past, because they're going to have to defend. The players are going to have to get ready to defend against pace and transition with Rodrigo and Vinicius. And keep in mind, when Real Madrid played, how clinical Vinicius and Rodrigo are, they only need that one opportunity. If they can get in behind, especially Rodrigo, he only needs that one opportunity to get into the back of the net. You saw against Bayern, mistakes is what brought Real Madrid in. Lack of concentration, lack of focus in certain areas. When you talk about in the first leg was Kim Min-jae stepping up, allowing Vinicius to make that run in behind. The penalty Kim Min-jae conceded with Rodrigo turning his back to goal, essentially just a horrible mistake. In the second leg, Manuel Neuer dropping the ball into Joselu's arm. It's just like how clinical Real Madrid are and how precise they are. They will take advantage of any sort of little mistake you make. So the concentration, the defensive concentration has to be there from Borussia Dortmund. It will take one opportunity, and once Real Madrid get that opportunity and they get it back in the net, then it's just gonna make it that much harder for Borussia Dortmund. Because if Borussia Dortmund want any chance to win this, and even if they were able to get this, by the way, Real Madrid still shown their ability to come back late in crucial ties. So that's just, even if they were able to get this, I don't think it'll be enough. But of Borussia Dortmund want to win this game, they have to start off on the front foot. They have to be, they're the ones that are going to have to get the goal early and put the pressure on the Real Madrid players. And getting the goal early is probably not even going to be enough. They're going to have to keep putting pressure on them, because at the end of the day, Real Madrid, if they go up early, you're essentially like looking at it as if it's almost game over. Real Madrid are just going to play very, very sit tight, very compact, and I don't think Borussia Dortmund have the quality and they're clinical enough to take part that Real Madrid team when they play so compact. So Borussia Dortmund, not only they're going to have to come up early and they're going to have to get a goal early to put more pressure on Real Madrid, but they're going to have to essentially get even more goals and kind of put Real Madrid out of reach near the late of the game, so Real Madrid can go on those miraculous late game comebacks that they've shown their ability to do in the last few years in the Champions League. It's a very, very difficult task. I'm looking at it. I mean, I said this similar to United City when I was talking about United City, but the difference between United City and this is Real Madrid. It's just in their nature. They don't lose these games. They always figure out a way to come back in it. So I don't know. I think it's a very difficult task for Borussia Dortmund to come up with this upset.